Good evening, and thank you so much for joining. I'm Janie Johnson, CEO of St. Luke's Central Region, which includes St. Luke's Hospital of Kansas City, our flagship hospital. In my role, I am St. Luke's Health System's administrative leader over research and medical education. It is truly a privilege to be here with you and to celebrate the life-changing and life-saving work that happens day in and day out thanks to research, innovation, and the drive to always reach new heights. Research enables us here at St. Luke's and medical professionals everywhere to provide the safest, most advanced, and most effective treatments and therapies for patients with complex conditions. Every day, I have the honor of being surrounded by and working with some of the industry's leading minds in this critically important area, and the word that best describes it is inspiring. Tonight, we honor the guiding light that continues to shine thanks to the extraordinary vision and many contributions to cardiovascular care and research of Dr. Ben McCallister. I had the honor and privilege of working with Dr. McCallister, as many in this audience. He was a very special person. We are proud to carry on Dr. McCallister's decades-long legacy each and every day in the work we do, and I am grateful you are here tonight to be part of this recognition of his life's work. We are also thrilled to recognize the ongoing work and impact of Dr. McCallister, St. Luke's Vice President of Research, who, like Dr. McCallister before him, is helping to define the field of cardiovascular research, close to home, nationally, and on a global scale. Both of these exceptional physicians, innovators, and leaders have exemplified what it means to serve our mission. We'll hear much more about the impact both have made this evening. To lead the way, I'm pleased to introduce St. Luke's Health System President and CEO, Dr. Mindy Estes. Welcome, Dr. Estes.
Ralph Waldo Emerson once wrote, "The characteristic of heroism is its persistency. All people have wandering impulses, fits, and starts of generosity. But when you have chosen your part, abide by it, and do not weakly try to reconcile yourself with the world. The heroic cannot be common, nor the common heroic." Emerson could have been writing about the two men we honor today, because with persistence and boldness of the mission they chose, they are responsible for making cardiovascular care better, not just for the patients in their care, but for all patients. From Wichita to Lawrence, to Honolulu, to Rochester, to St. Luke's, where he built his home for the next 40 years, Dr. Ben McCallister was not just a St. Luke's physician, not just a leader, not just an innovator. He was a foundational force of who and what St. Luke's has grown to be. He helped found St. Luke's Cardiovascular Consultants and the St. Luke's Mid-America Heart Institute. It was thanks, in large part, to his mentorship and enduring inspiration that Dr. Tracy Stevens pursued medical school, specialized in cardiology, and ultimately championed the Muriel I. Kaufman Women's Heart Center, which has redefined the way women's heart care is treated and energized a generation of women to focus on leading heart-healthy lives. It was under his guidance and leadership that St. Luke's went from being a hospital to being a center of focused cardiac care, and it's his enduring legacy and commitment to excellence that continues to fuel us, making us, today, a renowned national leader in cardiac care and clinical research. From Dr. McCallister's vision and leadership that helped create the world's first standalone dedicated heart hospital in 1982, to Dr. Kosiborod's groundbreaking work today with the Cardiometabolic Center Alliance, reimagining the treatment of type 2 diabetes using team-based, comprehensive, preventive care. There is a legacy, a foundation, and an expectation of excellence from St. Luke's. It's found in the whole of the Mid-America Heart Institute and its team of stellar professionals, clinicians, and staff, and specifically, of course, in the critical research being done by Dr. Mikhail Kosiborod and his entire team. From interventional cardiology and cardiac transplantation, to diabetes management and adult congenital heart disease. The research being done at St. Luke's, enrolling hundreds of patients annually for a broad range of trials and studies, gives hope. It advances science and medicine. It finds answers to our most daunting questions. And it continues to be foundational to the St. Luke's mission. Mikhail, your work in research and your leadership in the field has elevated that mission. It has led to innovative solutions and groundbreaking insight into some of our most complex health issues. It promises to be core to the future of medicine, of healthcare, and of St. Luke's. And we're honored to recognize you today as the first recipient of the Ben McCallister Endowed Chair in Cardiovascular Research, as you continue Dr. McCallister's legacy of practicing with compassion, dreaming with vision, and performing with excellence, and a drive to continually be better. On behalf of the entire St. Luke's leadership team and our board of directors, congratulations, Dr. Kusibarad, on this well-deserved honor. And thank you to the entire McCallister family for not only continuing to share Ben's memory and legacy with us, but for your continued support of St. Luke's and all that we do. While the last 12 months have been about overcoming challenges, digging deep in our wells of resilience, and oftentimes simply pushing through in search of better days ahead, events like this, honoring the work of pioneers like Dr. McCallister and Dr. Kusibarad, remind us that those better days are here and that our future is still full of promise. Thank you again to everyone on this call for joining today and for your support of St. Luke's, our mission, and our commitment to care. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Estes. It is a great honor to share my heartfelt respect and gratitude for my colleague, mentor, and dear friend, Dr. Ben McCallister, and to highlight, as you just heard, the incredible pioneering impact he has had on patient care, our communities, research, and the field of cardiology. Known to many as Dr. Big Ben McCallister, he completed medical school at the University of Kansas, followed by service in the U.S. Army Medical Corps at Tripler Army Hospital in Hawaii. He then completed his training in internal medicine and cardiology at Mayo Clinic. In 1969, he left his staff position at Mayo Clinic to move back to Kansas City, where he would help create the cardiology practice Cardiovascular Consultants and co-found the world's first dedicated heart hospital, what we know today as St. Luke's Mid-America Heart Institute, which is staffed and equipped to optimize outcomes for cardiovascular patients. His passion for his patients, for clinical research, and for the community led to him being uniquely honored as a Master of the American College of Cardiology. When bestowing this title, the college highlighted Ben's leadership roles and his contributions to the development of cardiovascular guidelines and his initiatives in measuring the quality of cardiovascular care, including the formation of the college's National Cardiovascular Data Registry. His commitment to cardiovascular research led to him being named the Missouri Endowed Chair and Director of Cardiovascular Research at the Mid-America Heart Institute, as well as a Professor of Medicine at the University of Missouri, Kansas City. Dr. McCallister's leadership resulted in the creation of one of the first cardiovascular outcomes research programs in the world, a program later renamed in his honor as the Ben McCallister, MD, Clinical Scholars Program. His foresight has provided generations of cardiovascular researchers the support and dedicated time they need to pursue research interests, resulting in one of the premier and most productive research programs in the country. Ben's passion and drive were contagious, with quality and professionalism evident in all he did. He was committed to the health of our community, and our community trusted, believed in, and supported Ben. He was a community ambassador for St. Luke's and raised millions of philanthropic dollars. His dedication to improving his community at large contributed to the development of the St. Luke's Cardiac Rehabilitation Program, as well as the St. Luke's Public Forums, which created a venue to provide credible cardiovascular education to the community. Mill Creek Park, to the east of St. Luke's Hospital, was not only largely designed and developed by Ben, but its future secured through an endowed fund established by his fundraising efforts. Ben has been my hero for the past 37 years. I first met him as a physical therapist, assisting him with inpatient cardiac rehabilitation in 1984. He had a passion for teaching all those who shared his drive, matched by his tremendous commitment to St. Luke's. When I continued my journey as a medical student, the respect for Ben was immediately obvious. On the busy general surgery rotation, the chief resident sat me down and said, "Look, this is our motto. You eat when you can, you sleep when you can. You don't mess with the pancreas, and you don't mess with Big Ben." Ben deeply believed in academics and inspired young doctors to strive for excellence. As a resident, I quickly came to know and respect patients referred to as FOBs, and would nervously anticipate a call from Ben wanting a most organized update on that FOB patient. What is an FOB? A friend of Ben's. Ben's name carried respect across the country. When I interviewed for a cardiology fellowship at Mayo Clinic, the recurring interview comment was, "Wow, you know Ben McCallister?" I have a treasured photo of Ben, which to me truly captures his passion for his life's work and his vision for this campus that brings together the art and science of medicine. He's standing at the bedside of a critically ill collegiate athlete in the ICU at St. Luke's. This young man's father trained under Ben many years ago and called from his far western Kansas hospital in desperation to emergently transfer his son, who was acutely and critically ill from a virus that attacked his heart, saying, "Ben, my son's only chance is to get him to you." The photo was taken 3 months after the young patient arrived at St. Luke's, after numerous resuscitations by many team members and 3 months of a mechanical heart supporting both main heart pumps. On the day that picture was taken, Ben learned a donor heart had been matched for transplantation, and he was one of the first to share the gift of life news. The expression on his face tells the story. He was filled with pride to know this young man survived what most would not, reflecting the human impact of this doctor's life that was dedicated to science and research and better outcomes for patients. Ben's many contributions to his profession, St. Luke's, and community were fueled by his love for his family. He and the love of his life, Jenny, were married for 55 years. Ben proudly displayed in his office a large portrait of the two of them and their 5 children, Dr. Ben Jr., Dr. Scott, John, Tom, and Katie. I will always remember the way Ben's eyes lit up and the corners of his mouth rose when sharing photos and stories about their grandchildren, which to date number 16. Ben and Jenny were always so gracious in inviting cardiology colleagues and their families into their homes. These gatherings united and built a professional family, and the tradition continues today. Many of us are fortunate to have visited Ben and Jenny in their beautiful home in Mauna Lani on the Big Island of Hawaii, a place that always energized Ben when he returned to Kansas City. Although we lost our innovative colleague and honest friend in 2012, I like to say that my colleagues and I stand proudly on his shoulders and remain committed to carrying on his life-saving vision. It is with great pride that I now unveil Ben's portrait, which will fittingly be displayed in a place of honor at St. Luke's Mid-America Heart Institute. It is a privilege today to know that Ben's legacy and commitment to research and improving cardiovascular care will live on through the work of other dedicated leaders in research, through a new endowed chair, which we look forward to celebrating in just a few moments. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Mike Main, Co-Executive Medical Director of St. Luke's Mid-America Heart Institute and Cardiovascular Division Chair, who will share more on Ben's influence on the trajectory of St. Luke's Mid-America Heart Institute's research program. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Tracy. We're all deeply proud of St. Luke's Health System's decades-long presence in the field of cardiovascular research, a legacy that dates back to 1965. Today, St. Luke's Mid-America Heart Institute at St. Luke's Hospital of Kansas City is recognized nationally and internationally for quality research. Medicine is facing an unparalleled demand for leaders capable of defining and quantifying patient outcomes, comparing the effectiveness of alternative treatments, and translating new knowledge into safe and effective clinical care. Programs like ours, dedicated to outcomes and quality of care research, help meet the growing national demand for scholars with these specialized research capabilities. St. Luke's Mid-America Heart Institute serves as one of 4 designated data analytic centers for the American College of Cardiology's National Cardiovascular Data Registry. Our researchers have published more than 1,000 peer-reviewed scientific papers in the past 5 years. These articles have been published in many of the highest impact medical journals. Of course, we can't do it without our peers and supporters. We are grateful for the substantial contributions and research funding we receive from the National Institutes of Health, the federally funded Patient-Centered Outcomes Research Institute, the American Heart Association, the American College of Cardiology, and St. Luke's Foundation. Today it is an honor to recognize a physician, a pioneer, and a leader in the field of cardiovascular research. Dr. McCallister is a practicing cardiologist, the Vice President of Research for St. Luke's Health System, and co-director of the St. Luke's Michael and Marlis Haverty Cardiometabolic Center of Excellence, as well as a professor of medicine at the University of Missouri, Kansas City. McCall received training in clinical research, epidemiology, and health policy through the Robert Wood Johnson Clinical Scholars Program, as well as clinical training in cardiovascular medicine at Yale University School of Medicine. McCall is an internationally recognized expert in the fields of diabetes and cardiovascular disease. He has authored or co-authored over 270 peer-reviewed publications. McCall is involved in the leadership of multiple clinical trials and multi-center registries, and is currently the principal investigator of several investigator-initiated multi-center trials in diabetes and cardiovascular disease. In 2005, McCall became the first recruit with a substantial proportion of his professional time protected for research through support from the Clinical Scholars Program established by Dr. Ben McCallister. McCall now leads the research organization for St. Luke's Health System. Breakthroughs in research and medical advances never happen in a vacuum, and Ben and McCall would both be the first to shine the spotlight on the essential contributions of so many others. One of those, without a doubt, being Dr. John Spertus, Clinical Director of Health Outcomes Research. John's influence on the Clinical Scholars Program and in research has helped define the success of these programs, and he and McCall have worked closely together over the years, bringing the results of their research to the national stage time and again. Under McCall's leadership, the Clinical Scholars Program, which today includes a record 18 cardiologists, continues to benefit from protected research time, and its influence continues to expand. From 50 scientific papers published by the Cardiovascular Research Department in 2005 to more than 300 in 2020. Endowed chairs serve as a way to honor and support distinguished faculty and promote the role of teaching and research. In medicine, they help us recruit and retain the best and the brightest. And today we are gathered in celebration of a new endowed chair at St. Luke's Health System. An endowed chair is an investment in innovation and hope. It not only honors the holder of the chair, but also offers lasting respect and gratitude to the individual for whom the endowed chair is named. It is my honor to formally announce the creation of the Ben McCallister, MD, Endowed Chair in Cardiovascular Research. And it is with great pleasure that I announce and introduce the inaugural Ben McCallister, MD, Endowed Chair in Cardiovascular Research, Dr. Mikhail Kosaborid. Dr. Kosaborid, it is an honor to congratulate you on this achievement.
Thank you, Dr. Main. It is truly my privilege to be named as inaugural Ben McCallister, MD, Endowed Chair in Cardiovascular Research. This honor is especially meaningful because it is named after Dr. McCallister, for whom I have a great deal of respect and admiration, and who was in large part responsible for my recruitment to St. Luke's 16 years ago. Ben was a true pioneer who had an infectious enthusiasm for research and an unwavering vision for St. Luke's Mid-America Heart Institute as a beacon of innovation and clinical discovery. Although Dr. McCallister's life and accomplishments cannot be simply summarized in a few words, the phrase that comes to mind is the power of bold ideas. Building the nation's first heart hospital was a bold, visionary idea. It was pioneered by Ben with the goal of reinventing the way cardiovascular care was delivered, and this ultimately resulted in immeasurable benefits to the Kansas City community and beyond, which endure to this day. But ideas alone are not enough. In the words of the main character in the movie The Founder, one key feature distinguishes success from failure: persistence. It was a combination of visionary bold ideas and persistence that cemented Ben's legacy. It is this combination that drove many other pioneers to create and innovate at St. Luke's, leaders who continue to contribute every day to making Mid-America Heart Institute one of the world's leading institutions, both in terms of clinical excellence and research impact. This combination of bold ideas and persistence is the underpinning of the Clinical Scholar Program, founded by Ben, which continues to be the lifeblood of cardiovascular research. It is also the power of bold ideas that ultimately brought me to St. Luke's. I was born and grew up in Siberia, part of the former Soviet Union at the height of Cold War. At the time, it was not a society that favored or rewarded creativity. The prevailing sentiment towards the end of the Soviet Union was that no matter how brilliant your ideas or how hard you work, there was no chance of achieving them. The Russian word for this is bezishodnost, which can be best translated into English as hopelessness. As political tension started to ease in the late 1980s, our family was able to immigrate to the United States. I still remember arriving to JFK Airport on a hot August day, not speaking much English, unprepared for culture shock, and wondering what the future may hold. Reflecting on what has transpired over more than 30 years that passed since that day, it has been a journey inspired by bold ideas and persistence. Thanks to my mentors, I learned how to help individual patients with competence and compassion, but also how to ask and answer critical questions so that care can be improved for many others. My initial interest in diabetes and its effect on heart disease started early, influenced in part by the fact that my father was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and coronary artery disease shortly after our arrival to the United States, and was followed by my spouse being diagnosed with type 1 diabetes soon after our engagement. The key question I wanted to understand was, why is diabetes such a potent risk factor for heart disease, and what can we do to mitigate it? This quest ultimately led me to St. Luke's in 2005 with the goal of developing a research program in what we call today cardiometabolic medicine, a field that did not formally exist back then, but today is one of the most vibrant and rapidly developing areas of cardiology. A key reason for me to come to Kansas City was the Clinical Scholar Program founded by Dr. McCallister, which ultimately enabled us to build one of the world's leading clinical trial programs in cardiometabolic medicine, with many important advancements and achievements along the way, which have changed and continue to positively change the lives of patients around the world. Today, this vision continues with our flagship Cardiometabolic Center of Excellence, a place where patients with diabetes receive comprehensive, team-based care to alleviate the effects of their chronic disease on heart complications, and Cardiometabolic Center Alliance, our national effort to bring better quality of care to patients with cardiometabolic disease, regardless of where they live. Our research infrastructure continues to grow and thrive, supporting hundreds of clinical trials and research studies and leading global efforts in fighting multiple threats, including cardiovascular disease, cancer, and COVID-19, among others. Today, the Clinical Scala program is larger and stronger than ever, both in terms of its scope and impact. As the inaugural Ben McCallister, MD, Endowed Chair in Cardiovascular Research, my intent will be to deploy the support from this chair to further advance the objectives of the Clinical Scala program that was founded by Dr. McCallister so that our clinician investigators can continue to innovate, explore, and discover. We greatly miss Dr. McCallister's presence, but his spirit lives on. St. Luke's Mid-America Heart Institute is the place where the power of bold ideas remains, and it remains as a driving force to transform patient care, pioneer innovative therapies, and improve lives. Let us continue to be our true north, as there is no better way to honor and carry on Dr. Ben McCallister's legacy. Thank you, and now I would like to introduce Brian Moore, the interim CEO of St. Luke's Foundation.
Thank you, Dr. Kosoborad. As you've heard this evening, one person can have a phenomenal impact on countless lives. And tonight, we honor two St. Luke's leaders whose passion, dedication, and innovation continue to help shape cardiovascular care today and into the future. I'm Brian Moore, interim CEO of St. Luke's Foundation. For nearly 60 years, philanthropy has made a significant impact on medical education, research, and the delivery of patient care at St. Luke's. And there's no better example of that partnership than the legacy of Dr. Ben McCallister. It's been our pleasure to connect with Dr. McCallister's family, including his dear wife Jenny, as well as the many friends, colleagues, and past students who joined us today for this special celebration. As we look ahead, we see the important work in our future, and as Dr. Stevens said, we stand on the shoulders of those who've come before us, even as we recognize the next generation of St. Luke's leaders. Thank you all for joining us for this milestone in St. Luke's history. Stay safe. We look forward to seeing all of you again in person very soon. Good evening.